You cannot capture my attention in 3 seconds. You can't sell that experience to me. So while you are capturing that attention, my attention, let me experience something that connect with me immediately, and I want to take it to the very end of what you're trying to sell to me.
Hello viewers, it's another super duper episode of the LEC Pod, and you know how we're doing it here. We're bringing you the best scintillating, entertaining and educative topics that you can ever think of. And that is why we're setting the standard in podcasting as far as Africa is concerned. I want to say a big welcome to you to another grandstanding episode. And this one is The Bomb. My name is Emmanuel, and as always, Lola is always here to banter,
Lola is always
to
here
troll,
and to look for trouble.
To look for trouble.
Hi everyone.
Hi
Welcome to
Lola,
another
how's everything?
episode. I'm good.
You're cool?
It's really, pretty cool.
Far
today.
better today as compared to last week.
Well, we move.
What have you been up to?
Work, more work, and yet
Please,
more work.
let's talk about the dollars.
Dollars.
Yes, we can't be talking about work, and make the mullahs,
Dollars. Well, let's just say we are getting there. We're getting there.
All right, so today we have an amazing guest in our midst. And you know what we do? We take the stake higher on every episode that we bring to you. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, we'll introduce our guest and we'll dive into the conversation for this one.
All right, so today we're all about the business, and we're going to talk about tech stuff. Are you ready, Emmanuel?
Yeah, basically, very ready. Always ready at all times. One interesting thing about this topic is, while we were curating the topic, how's when the topic actually... I think I just got to know this aspect of... tech aspect.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
You
very
can say
recent.
venture
Funding
yeah,
tech,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and I just got to know about it, and I started research on that. And guess what? Amazing.
Okay.
Something new, something that is revitalizing the tech space. And I am curious to learn from our amazing guests today. So Lola, please introduce him so that we can get on board.
Yes. Can't wait to get started with this. Unfortunately, we have one of the finest minds in tech
In
with us
Africa.
today.
In Africa.
Yes. Yes. And by the time I'm done with the intro, you'll see where we're going with this. So, with us today, we have none other than the one and only DLM.
Yeah!
DLM is David Lanre Messan. Give it up. You're welcome.
I need to clap.
Thank you,
Yes.
guys. Thank you,
Yes,
guys,
thank
for
you
bringing me
for-
to the podcast.
Thank you for coming. Thank
My
you.
pleasure. It is. So,
How's it been business so far?
business has been good. I mean, it's been good. It's also been bad. But when you have your two legs, in between Africa and the other side of Africa, it sort of balances a bit for you. But the reality is that we try as much as possible to, create more value and to expand our opportunities. And the economic condition of the country at large has not been so good. But of course, it also plays out in other parts of the world. Even UK is going through their own hard times economically, and it's also hitting Canada badly. So every business is having their own, good share.
Yes, good share.
Of that whole situation.
Yeah. Today we're talking about the Venture Studio.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is the new opportunity for African
Startups. Wow.
Venture Studio Playbook. And when I saw that, I started imagining, what is this again? Is the first question that came to my mind. Like, what is this again? At some other time, you're hearing about accelerators, angel funding and stuff.
Incubators.
Now we're talking about incubators and all of that.
Yes.
And today we're looking at Venture Studio. What is it all about? The Venture Studio.
Yeah, interestingly, we have quite a number of venture studios that have sort of sprung up in Nigeria. But it's more popular in South Africa.
Okay.
Taking it from an African context.
Okay.
but started in America.
Okay.
And there are a few people who have seen the opportunity around the venture studio model, which I will delve fully into.
Okay.
And I've sort of leveraged it. Twitter was a product of a venture studio.
Whoa.
Yes.
interesting.
Slack was a product of venture studio. They were built. So when I talk about when I define venture studio for you, then that will now give you context to, the concept of Twitter, Slack, and a number of other successful startups that have sort of emerged from a studio to becoming the independent businesses that they are to becoming $1 billion unicorns.
Yeah.
Yes.
All of that today. So what exactly is a venture studio? So a venture studio is it's an entity that is specialized in the creation of companies and providing that operational support to those companies until they mature. In my own words, I say that it's a combination of it's an entity that creates companies while looking for the right talent,
Okay.
providing the strongest of operational efficiency and capital efficiency to ensure the success of a business.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
And what does that really mean? You see that the traditional startups that we have, they generate ideas in a linear position, and then when they generate that idea, they are crazy about that idea in solving a specific problem. And then as they begin to run that idea, they now begin to run into challenges.
Okay.
Those challenges will take away time. That challenge will take cash. Do you understand?
Yes.
Thereby cutting down on the power of operational efficiency for that, business in itself. But in the case of a venture studio, there are experts who are already in the house who will create multiple ideas and test that idea at a very minimal level to see the idea that will be better validated for that market.
Okay.
You understand? So now they are experts because they know market, they know the statistics of the market, they know the opportunities of the market, so they can create, parallel ideas, solving, a problem in multiple situations. Take for example, if I say, oh, people are suffering from hunger, and what ideas should we create to solve that problem?
Yeah.
Some people will say, oh, let us offer people food voucher. You understand? Some people will say, oh, no, let us ensure food security.
Okay.
Some people will say, let's empower more smallholder farmers. So you see that all of these ideas are created in such a way that to solve the same problem. But there's going to be a most effective solution from the three that I've mentioned.
Absolutely.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, take for example, if a traditional founder looks at those ideas, he might say, oh, I think the food voucher can work. Let me run with the food voucher. Meanwhile, it might be that it is the food security that will work. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And with that in question, the guy takes the food voucher ideas and start running with it, spending money, and then he hits a roadblock. Then he has to go back, and that is where you hear things like we have pivoted.
Yes, true.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Because now they've hit a roadblock, they now have to come back again and say, where did we get it wrong?
Yes.
But what has happened between that journey is that time has been wasted, resources have been wasted. Do you understand? But in the case of a venture studio, we already know what works and what doesn't work. Because there are experts in the house.
Okay.
And not just experts, we are bringing experienced experts to the house. You understand? We are finding the right talent that also understand these things to be able to run this. So the venture studio in a nutshell is that, entity that creates companies from the scratch, finding the right talent, but ensuring that there is a strong market validation for that idea. You understand?
Okay.
And nurturing that idea as a business until it gets to that point where it can stand on its own, maintaining operational efficiency and capital efficiency.
Interesting.
Wow.
Bigger.
So
We told you that this particular episode is going to be an amazing one. And I hope that you're beginning to see what we said at the initial stage. I want you to help us differentiate, because we have other investors, angel investors, and all of that. What sets you've also explained what a venture
Studio.
is, right? What does, just help us in clear terms, just so that people understand what the angel investors and all other kinds of investor is. Just help us differentiate them so that people fully understand this.
So for me, I'll frame this question this way, because most often people like to compare the venture studio with the accelerator and the incubators, right?
Yes.
Right.
So the angel investors are playing at the intersection of investments at a minimal level. So I will explain that in a nutshell.
Okay. Yeah.
So the accelerator is not a venture studio, but what accelerators do is that they are also part of the value chain of empowering entrepreneurs to be successful.
Okay.
Right? But what they do mostly is provide resources and mentorship to the entrepreneurs, and they take minimal equity for that.
Okay.
Sometimes they provide some cash. Do you understand?
Yes.
And then once they provide you that, they leave you. They don't provide you the support. They don't provide you the operational support that you need to continue within a period of time. So they can work with you for 3 weeks or at most 6 months. After 6 months, you're on your own. You can actually make mistakes as an entrepreneur after 6 months, right? The incubator, on the other hand, helps you to build your product to fit a market. So you see, the first one provides mentorship and resources. You go and build by yourself. But for the incubator, they assist you to build for a specific market. Once they build, you build, or they assist you to build, what you do next is to go and sell it yourself. Right? They don't provide you operational support and all of that. The venture studio helps you to build, one. Now, not even starting from building, helps you to ideate.
Wow. Which is from the very scratch.
Very scratch. Helps you to ideate, find market, build for the market, right? Do initial investment, which is what I do. I invest a minimum of $50,000 in each startup that I invest in. Right? I'm saying. Then, provide you that initial capital to build, and then we'll provide you a team of 6 to work internally, and also provide you an expert community of over 30 people. You understand? Then we also provide you with legal support, accounting support. So which means that we have a legal company, that you automatically have a lawyer, you automatically have a finance person, and all of that. And then we provide you end-to-end service for the next 36 months.
Interesting.
Accelerator will work with you for 6 months. Incubator will work with you for 12 months, but we will provide 36 months support. Now, if you give birth to a child for 6 months, and the child, give birth to a child, the child is 6 months, you leave the child. You know what will happen to that child. If you give birth to a child and the child is 1 year, you leave the child, you also know what will happen.
Definitely.
But when the child gets to 3 years, it's beginning to reason.
So
I call that structure the apprenticeship system, where you are guided to build and understand what you are building. Because a lot of founders have ideas that they do not even understand who it is for.
Yes, so they are not properly defined.
So you cannot be solving a problem that you don't understand who it is for. And as such, you can make mistakes, because you can be selling a very interesting product to the wrong market. And that's simply because you do not have the experience that is needed to sort of engender that kind of growth in itself. And don't forget don't forget that when you are building a startup, there are 3 important phases. There's the building phase, there's the scaling phase, and there's a maturity phase. You get. Now, the accelerator and the incubator play at the building phase. But the venture studio plays both at, building, scaling phase. They might not play at the maturity phase, because at that point they are exiting from the business. Either through, like for me, I'm building for acquisition. I'm not building for IPO. So which means that immediately I build your business and I take you to, to about say $25 million valuation. I'm already looking for who will buy you. And once they buy you, my equity from the business, I'm cashing out so that I can build more. Do you understand what I'm saying? But what would have happened is that you can be guaranteed that once you join my studio, the rate of growth is high, because you have a 53.3% higher chance of survival than a traditional startup, because you're in my studio, because I'm providing you everything that you need. So that's the difference.
That's the studio So the word studio, that's like
You understand?
providing everything.
Everything
It's like
for
an
you.
all-in-one.
Do you understand?
Yeah, it's like a full,
Exactly.
a whole package.
Exactly. Then talking about the angel investor. So angel, I mean, I started being an angel. So before I started the studio, I've been investing in some small businesses, providing $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, all of that. I have some equity. Some are lost because the businesses did not survive, all of that. But angel investors are people who invest between $5,000 and $100,000 in businesses.
Okay.
Once you are doing more than $100,000, you are becoming a VC or an LP, limited partner, who invest in venture capitals and all of that. So sometimes angel investors form part of syndicates that invest in businesses.
Okay.
So syndicate simply means that a combination of people come together to, a group of people come together to invest in a startup. So they form part of syndicates. So certain times my businesses, the startups that I have in my portfolio, we call them portfolio startups. Whereas in the studio. So we get to a certain point where the businesses that we are built need more funding, right? So we get angel investors to form a syndicate to now invest in those startups. You understand? For, a good exit along the line. So I think the role of the venture studio, the angel investor is far more different from so they play a role in all of the three because, come on, they are investing in startups to be able to gain more. You get what I'm saying?
Yes,
But the ones that are more comparable is when you talk about the accelerator, the incubator, and the venture studio. The venture studio plays at a higher level of ensuring that businesses succeed, which in itself helps to reduce the shutdown and the failure rate of businesses.
Okay. I was just about to get to that, to say, why is the venture studio more suitable for the African ecosystem, startup ecosystem?
So when the tech ecosystem started evolving in the 2000s, we had a number of, so what first started were hubs, CC Hub and all of that. But in some way, I felt that they implored or they used this venture studio model as at those times. But it was not pronounced because of the fact that it could be that there was an information gap or it was just not something that they really wanted to look into holistically, right? And then from the hubs, it sort of expanded into the accelerators and incubators and all of that. There's also the skill gap issues around a lot of young people dabbling into, entrepreneurship in the tech ecosystem, but are not well prepared when it comes to running a business. There's a difference between you have your eureka moments and you have the experience to sustain the eureka moment. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, so that skill gap sort of, exists. But then the truth is that the venture studio model did not pick up in Africa generally. Then at some point, it picked up heavily in South Africa. We have a lot of venture studios in South Africa. But it has been very popular in the US, in the Middle East, and all of that. So it is just recently that I think the first venture studio in Nigeria was called SeedCap. And then after that, a number of other ones popped up. Then, which includes First Founders, my own company. But today the good thing is that if you pick top 10 venture studios, both in Nigeria and Africa, we are going to pop up at number 2.
Wow.
Do you understand? And that's simply because for me, I've been like an evangelist of the venture studio model in solving the skill gap issues when it comes to entrepreneurship in Africa. And that's because a lot of the young people that are going into, I have a startup I want to do that, don't have all of the experience. So when they go through that apprenticeship process for 3 years, that's 36 months, and they know that there's a lot at stake. They would have learned the art of maintaining operational efficiency, team leadership, and capital efficiency. They would have gone through the mentorship. They would have understood the economics, of scale when it comes to markets, when it comes to business. They would have understood what it means to manage people to be able to deliver on expected KPIs. They would have understood what it means to innovate in business. They would have understood what it means to, create and capture value for their businesses to sort of move on to the next phase and all of that. So there's a lot of moving needles in all of that you can't learn on your own. You need a crop of people. You understand? It takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that venture studio is that village.
Okay.
Wow.
So if I get what you're saying, a studio is basically like taking a startup to school.
Exactly.
And
But this time it's hands-on.
Yes, but now it's hands-on.
It's hands-on. You get it.
So using that experience. Okay, so let me ask this question. In terms of the African context now, what criteria, and without going into too much detail, of course, but what criteria generally would you say would qualify a business or a startup? I know you've touched on some of the technical requirements around it, but what are those things that would make you say, okay, this is a viable business, this is something that qualifies to be a part of this studio?
Okay, so I'll use our studio for example. So when I first started the venture studio,
Yes.
I put $120,000
Okay.
into about I think about 6 or 7 startups,
Okay.
and none of them survived. So $120,000 went win. Then I sat back and looked at what could have cost it.
Okay.
Then I saw that founder complacency was one of it. So they just felt, oh, well, boy now. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen. He's going to keep spending money. Let's just be there. He wants us to run the business and all of that. But that was one. So they at that point, they lost what I called passion. And maybe our selection criteria would be the second.
Okay.
I had a faculty that was selecting the startups. So I think that they selected the startups based on maybe emotions, or maybe sentiments, or maybe they selected on actual fact, but it selected that it was not just a model that could have worked. You understand? And then the third was that I had issues with the team. So we were recruiting, but they were not the kind of expert that were needed. So when you work in a venture studio, it's important for everybody to have the venture builder mindset.
Absolutely.
Do you understand? So everybody has to be building. You understand? So we expect some level of expertise. So if I'm not going to go back to the sort of criteria that will help us to select the right kind of startup, I'm going to be looking at founder character. I'm going to be looking at market opportunity. I'm going to be looking at my investment strategy on how I want to deploy my investments to these people, and that will help me to now know, if a business will work. Now, investment strategy in the sense that if I intend to, so right now from next year, should I say this? Okay, I'm launching a $5 million fund.
Okay.
In March.
Okay.
And there's a way I structure that fund. The moment you come into the studio, we invest $50,000.
Okay.
And we watch you for 1 year.
Okay.
After 1 year, if you are not, there are certain criteria and metrics we are going to use, right? If you don't meet up, we don't continue. So we are supposed to invest $250,000. We have saved $200,000.
Okay.
Which we can now use to invest in another opportunity.
Okay.
Do you understand? So that's a strategy around. Instead of us pouring the whole 250 and losing the whole 250.
Exactly.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So that is a strategy around how we feel that we can, and that it has worked, because right now we have about 8 portfolio startups.
Okay.
Right. The most successful of all of them is called Pocket Lawyers. The second is Pay Student. Pocket Lawyers is already doing about $25,000 to $30,000 monthly now, and has over 500 lawyers on their platform, because it's an operating platform that allows lawyers to create their own virtual law firms. So on that platform, you create your virtual law firm. You have access to AI-driven documents and all of that, to where you can generate document with AI. There is e-signature. There's a lot of things and all of that, even though right now we are now improving it to have more features, so even if you go to the site, you might not see, but by December, before 15th, we are launching the version 2.
Okay.
You understand? And that is also the opportunity that you have in a venture studio, because now we are providing you all the technology resources.
Exactly.
So we are building fast, we are repeating processes and looking at gaps and rebuilding again.
Exactly.
You understand? Just iterating and all of that. You get so those are going to serve as criterias. You understand? The market. Take for example, I'm now interested in cybersecurity because African companies, especially the classic industries, are now losing over $8.5 billion to cybersecurity issues in Africa.
That is a massive.
Just imagine $8.5 billion in your hand.
$8.5
Do you understand? And that money just going, they are losing it, and that's because a lot of the regulatory compliances around how cybersecurity is being deployed in these companies have not been highly adopted to that level. There are no solutions that cater to certain specifics for these traditional businesses. And don't forget, startups run on digital operating models. Traditional businesses run on traditional operating models.
Yes.
They are two different things.
You can't even marry.
So it's easy for me to attack you.
Yes.
Do you think that the government is doing enough in terms of policy formulations and implementation?
Well, to be honest, in terms of tech, the government is beginning to try, really do a lot. The Startup Act bill was passed recently, and the Ministry of Communication is doing a lot. That is Bosun Tijani is doing a lot in that space. NITDA is doing a lot in that space. So for me, I'm going to give it to them. No sector or ecosystem grows in a jiffy.
Yeah,
it takes a process.
Of course.
So we are still in our forming stage. I mean, the truth is that there are 4 stages, when it comes to building anything. The forming stage, the storming stage, the norming, and the performing, right? So I would say that we are pretty much in between our storming and norming stages when it comes to all of this. So there is going to be strong policies that will drive the growth of businesses, where if you see, there has been a lot of grants that has been coming out these days through tech. You understand? Beyond Limit, just organize something in partnership with Zenith Bank to give people 25 million, 15 million, 2.5 million, all of that. They are doing another one with the U.S. Consulate. 54 Collective just gave some people $5,000 just to set up stuff. Free money. You understand? That you can use to pick up and all of that. So these are all part of the entrepreneurship development cycle, particularly for the growth of the tech ecosystem, right? So I believe that the policies that the government are coming out with will mature into strong, effective solutions to making our growth, making the system really grow.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I'd like to circle back because just previously, before the other question I asked, you talked about founders' character. Yeah, and you said you were going to start paying attention to that because in recent times the news is awash with certain questionable character from could be some entrepreneurs or founders, right? So in terms of managing resources effectively and all of that. And you said you're going to be paying attention to that. And I think that I picked interest in that. And for me is, how would your venture studio, or what are the things they're going to be really looking at before deciding if they should, even before selecting in itself, what should be? And this question is because people are listening. People are, for our viewers out there who will be watching, they're likely going to be saying, okay, maybe I need to approach this venture studio, right? And maybe I meet this criteria and I can approach them. What are those things that you are actually looking out for in these founders?
So, I mean, the truth is that I have used that method and it has worked.
Yes.
So I told you that I lost $120,000.
Yes.
So the next phase of my investments was about $350,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this first phase, I picked all my lessons and set up and
The
called for. Now this time I didn't call for the founders. I started going to source for them.
Right.
Okay.
The first one, I called founders. I said, apply. But this time, I'm going to every event, every founder event, going to ecosystem events, talking to people. And again, one of the sweetest strategy I now use was to set up a community of founders. That community has 1,600 founders today. And through everything they do in that community, we are watching. And as we are watching, we are selecting. We are not coming to you and say, hey, come. we have this idea in this area. We could work on it. Do you have an idea in that area too? Say, I have something slightly different. Okay. Can we merge or can we pick yours and work on it? You get?
Yes.
At that point, we have seen you and your consistency. So when we talk about founder character, there are a few elements that are very important to consider. Okay. So first things I look out for when we talk about founder character is the ability to dream.
To dream.
Anybody that cannot envision things, it's going to be hard for you to adapt.
Okay.
Because vision plays a very important role in the process of growth.
Okay.
You get?
Yes.
And I'll give a case study. I'm still going to come back to those elements.
Right.
In 2000, it was the information age. Between 2000 and 2010, it became the attention age.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then we have moved on again. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So there is always a 10-year gap between how things change. Now, the person who was leveraging on information to envision, is now using that same information strategy in the days of attention. Do you think he will grow?
Nope.
No.
He cannot grow.
No. Because he has to
where
change
people are
his
now doing
strategy.
content creation, you are still typing. Do you understand?
Yeah,
There was a
There's
time
no way.
writing was just the in thing.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, we have now gotten to the point where, in the attention age has gotten to a point where we have now gotten to what I call the experiential age,
Okay.
where people should be able to experience what you are selling to them or doing or offering them in just 3 seconds.
3 seconds, okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that means that if you are doing anything in content and you cannot capture my attention in 3 seconds, you can't sell that experience to me. So while you are capturing my attention, let me experience something that connects with me immediately, and I want to take it to the very end of what you're trying to sell to me. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So we're looking for those kind of founders who have our eagle eyes to see opportunities immediately. We want people who are passionate, people who are resilient,
Okay.
people who have the ability to manage people, have strong team leadership skills. Then most importantly, we have also gotten to the age where communication is no-brainer anymore.
Absolutely.
Oh, mo kin sọ̀rọ̀. Mo like ati ma sọ̀rọ̀. You will lose out in life.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I agree.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
bro.
This is the age and time that you must know how to talk.
Yes.
You must speak. Do you understand?
Yeah, sure.
So we want founders that can communicate. Then we want founders that can get their hands dirty, not the ones that made me lose $120,000.
Which is a lot, actually. So I think speaking to that, the next question is, okay, so I'm a startup founder. I want to get into your venture studio. What, apart from the characteristics or criteria that you've talked about, what would catch your attention? What would make you say, okay, come join my venture studio?
So for our venture studio, we have we have certain sectors that we are interested in, because
Right.
for you to succeed as a venture studio, it's important. Of course, you can run as a hybrid, because there are different types of venture studios. There's venture studios that run as a holding company. There are those that run as a single fund or focused venture studio. I want to call them. So they have a single fund.
Yeah.
And then we have those who run as a venture studio and a fund. The fund is here, and the venture studio, the venture studio operates on its own, the fund operates on its own. Two entities, but they are working together.
Yeah.
You understand? So for me, I run a single entity venture studio where both the fund and the venture studio
Resides
in one place.
domicile.
You understand?
Alright.
But registered in America and Nigeria.
Right.
So it's a single entity, but the fund that funds the studio in Nigeria is in America, in Delaware.
Okay.
While the studio that looks for
Okay.
is here. But the fund is the same, they are connected.
Yeah.
So
Right.
once we find the startup, we invest. So when you talk about what is the criteria
Yes.
for joining, first you must have the idea that falls within our sector focus.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we are looking at finance. So first of all, it must be an AI startup.
Okay.
Okay.
You understand? In finance, healthcare, cybersecurity, legal, agriculture, and education.
Okay.
Wow.
And that's
So like
because
the core.
yeah, exactly. So because and the reason for that is because we have looked at the market and we see that there's still a lot of gaps within the finance space. We've not finished solving the finance problems we have in Africa.
Yeah.
We've not finished solving the problems in healthcare. We've not finished solving the problems in cybersecurity. Same thing for agriculture. Same thing for education, right? So we are looking for ideas in those spaces, right? And once you meet those criteria first, you know, we will now. So we changed our model recently. So initially, you just apply on our website. If you go to our current website, we are changing the website.
Oh, okay.
So if you go to our current website, you just apply. We email you and say, we like your idea.
Okay.
Come for an interview. So we have an interview with you.
Okay.
After the interview, we send you a character metric test.
Right.
You know, form. You fill that.
Right.
And we check. So we now pass your idea to our investment committee or our advisor who now look at it and say, okay, it's good to go.
Right.
Then we take that and now ideate the idea properly, do the market validation, then take it to the design team who will now design the UI UX. Then from there we take it to the product engineering team who will now build it as a product. Then we will now launch the team. We'll set up a team for you. We do register the business as a legal company. Now assign you everybody that you need to be able to run, you know, that business and all of that. Then we put the initial funding in it, which will now cater for the salaries, marketing, and acquiring users, and all of that, you know, for that, you know, business basically.
Practically like from scratch.
Exactly.
Yes.
Everything.
Exactly.
Wow.
But now, we have decided that from next year, the goal now is to, we have decided to structure our model into 3.
Okay.
So there is what we call the Venture Lab program.
Okay.
We have the Venture Studio and we have the Venture Capital.
Okay.
Oh,
Right? So for the Venture Lab, we accept so many people to apply. But you will now go through a development process to learn how to do 2 things, to ideate and build that idea by yourself.
Okay.
So it's expected that in that meeting, so we are going to accept plenty people. So everybody will build, so you build a landing page. So it's called the MVP, minimum viable product. You understand?
Yeah.
And you go through a hackathon. So that hackathon, you ideate, you build ideas and all of that. In fact, you can even merge with another founder and say, hey, come, I like what you are doing. Let's be co-founders and build this idea. So we are taking so many people. So at the end of that hackathon, you build a landing page, get your first 100 users.
Okay,
Once you get your first 100 users, you will now come and demo to our Venture Studio investment committee.
All right.
Who will now pick the best 10. The best 10 will now bring it into the studio. That's why we'll now put $50,000 in the business first and now start building the idea properly.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
After we do that, we'll see how you have also run your 50,000 for 1 year, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
After you do that, we'll now invest the venture capital side of the business. We'll now invest $200,000 in addition.
Like a process of weeding.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So you are going through the process hands on. From ideation to market validation, validating the idea to be sure that this idea and all of that. Then you now come to the experience itself, and now begin to experience all of that. And then you now begin to see money and all of that. Then after that, you know, after you've gone through a process, you know, for 3 years, we'll now begin to talk to our partners, our M&A partners, mergers and acquisition partners, who will now begin to say, oh, we love this idea, let's buy it into our big company and all of that. You understand? And that is where we are measuring the big valuations of, say, $25 million, $100 million, and all of that.
Do you think that the government has a role to play in venture studios?
Yes, of course. I know that venture studios have not been properly recognized by the government in Nigeria yet, though they've recognized innovation hubs, accelerators, and incubators, but they've not particularly recognized the venture studios. And I understand that's because the model is not yet popular in Nigeria, so we don't have a lot of people. Unlike accelerator, we have several accelerators. Unlike incubator, we have several of them, and all the innovation hubs are so plenty. Do you understand?
Yes.
But venture studios are not so much yet. Maybe that's also one of the reasons.
Okay.
But I've been trying to be a voice for that. But on my own, I'm writing a white paper right now,
Okay.
which is talking about the state of venture studio in Nigeria.
In Nigeria. Okay.
Which has a lot of subtopics and also profiling the opportunity for the government. I'm also, in that white paper, I talked about the Venture Studio Operators Network,
Okay.
setting that up, just to be able to empower those who want to run. Some people are running Venture Studio, but they don't know that it is a venture studio.
Right.
Right.
You understand?
Yes.
But they are getting part of the model right, but because they don't know how to now follow the structure properly. So with that, they'll be able to know through the white paper. They'll be able to know, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm also looking at the government now coming up policies that support,
Okay.
the venture studio model, the playbook in itself for the Nigerian market. You get?
Yes.
Yeah.
And through that, there are certain policy ideas that I've also developed that is part of the white paper. You get? So hopefully before the end of next year, that white paper will come out. And I'll push it straight to all government agencies, particularly the ones that matter, so that they begin to know that, we need to begin to give a voice to the venture studio players in Nigeria, because of the fact that we cannot continue to afford startup shutdowns and startup failures in Nigeria.
Exactly.
Wow.
Because
We
I think the
cannot.
space is actually eager
Do you understand?
for
Yes.
that acceleration.
You see that
Yes.
a lot of young founders get even grants,
Yeah.
but they are still stuck. There's a reason. They have to go through that apprenticeship system,
Yes.
that hands-on, not hands-off experience.
Yeah. Exactly.
Why the other ones are giving hands-off experience? Because they hands-off eventually.
Yes,
But
yes,
this is more hands-on,
Hands-on, yes.
and also helps to mitigate the issues of failure of those startups. Because once the startups don't fail, you engender what I call GDP growth, economic growth. You understand? Our CAGR
Yes.
also grows because the businesses will employ people, and this in itself will even support the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal,
Exactly.
be providing decent jobs, taking people out of poverty. And a lot more things
Yeah.
like that.
Wow.
So the
I
difference
hope-
is really knowledge. Yes.
I hope you've enjoyed this. We'll go on a short break and we will be back.
Okay.
All right, welcome back. I hope that you have enjoyed every bit of this conversation. It is what we promised you, and we stand by it.
Yes.
Yes. So, Lola?
Yes.
Question.
Yes. So, DLM, I think the next question I will have, this is a very wide topic, but we'll just try and tie up this end that we've discussed basically. In terms of African markets generally, how do you see venture studios shaping the future of the African tech space?
The honest truth is that the venture studio model, or the venture studio itself, is a very huge opportunity
Okay.
for entrepreneurial growth or entrepreneurship growth
Okay.
in Africa.
Okay.
And that is owing to the fact that, let's be honest, let's say this truth. A lot of founders are yet to understand what it means to set up a startup and run it successfully to exit. And there's a lot of learning that is required to, be able to match up with that expectation
Yeah.
of that start. And that is the thing. A lot of young people, a lot of founders are passionate about the start, but they don't particularly have a plan about the exit. And when an investor is giving you money, it is not the start that matters to them. It is the exit
Absolutely.
that matters to them, because that liquidity is important. Do you understand?
Yes.
So,
Got it.
and
Yes.
for the venture studio model, it's more particular about that liquidity, that exit, and which is why they do everything possible to guarantee the success of that startup, taking it away from that turbulent period that the founder go through, so that the founder can learn, get all the support until they get to that level where they cannot stand on their own. At that point, you can rest. When your child gets to 18 years old,
Yeah.
you have some level of confidence. I say, this
At least
child.
you've brought
can
child
now
up
be
to-
able to make some
yes.
decisions. So you are just from
Yes,
afar.
yes,
Now say,
yes.
hello, you have not come to visit me. You don't know you are supposed to come and visit your parents. Oh, okay, do this and all of that. Yes, this is what you
Yeah,
are.
I'm very busy.
You know, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because they know you can be. So there is a level that you get to. You tell your parent that you want to stay on your own. They say lie. That's another level you guys say you want to say come and be going.
Yes, so
Definitely.
Do you understand? what I'm
Yes,
saying?
I agree.
The
Yes,
venture studio
yes.
is that space, that entity that allows that to
okay,
happen.
to happen. Oh, okay.
You understand?
Sure.
So I want to be a proud father for the startups
Yeah, exactly.
that I breed.
Ooh.
And
We
how will
love
I be proud if I have not taken them through the culture of development? And that is what the venture. So, and a lot of founders in Africa, that is what they need. I believe that the venture studio model is what African founders need for the next 20 years.
Yes. Yes.
You understand? Because
Totally
if I
aligned,
mean,
yes.
to be honest, I know this conversation we didn't discuss all of the other, the economics of the business in itself and all of that. But I mean, maybe another time,
No.
it's something that we can look into.
Yeah,
but
please,
it
please. We want to bring you back
honestly,
here and be able to have that conversation.
Because people ask me, so how do you make money as the operator of the studio?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know
because
what I
you're giving and
so
giving
this
and
can
giving.
now run into the next session.
Yeah, so
you
we'll
understand?
part two,
All right.
version
We're here for
two
it.
of this
We're here
very
for it.
conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank
Wow.
you so much. This is a lot. We've taken in a lot. Emmanuel, have you learned something today?
Are you asking? I am
Rhetorical
dumbfounded.
question.
Like basically, I think there's so much for us to learn, and I'm happy that these revelations are coming out, and it's on this the LHC pod that we are
Yes.
getting to hear, and this is the reason why we set up this we set up this channel as a counterculture approach to podcasting in Nigeria and a bit of Africa as a whole. I have really enjoyed every bit of this
Seriously,
conversation, and luckily our guest DLM has promised that he will be coming back. We'll just need to check with his calendar and
Yes.
to know, because he's a very busy person, and to check with him on when we can bring him. Be rest assured,
Yeah.
if you don't see him on time, kindly on the comment section remind us that we did promise
Yes.
that DLM will be back here.
I'll be back.
Yeah, thank
Yes. All right, we have that on tape.
Yeah.
And that is LHC for you.
Yeah.
So Lighthouse Convos, we have access to the finest minds, giving you the best of advice.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you really enjoyed this conversation. If you find it I know you found this topic or episode very informative. So don't keep it to yourself. Share, like, drop your comments, subscribe. Tell us what you like about this, right? And that is what keeps us going, and is the reason why we're doing what we are doing. Thank you very much. From me, it's bye for now.